Welcome to the Winners and Losers Show. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Thompson. I'm the host of the show. I'm going to be the host of the show until all the stolen wages are recovered. Reading up on the big issue of wage theft recently. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I watched that. And this is not what I was planning on talking about. There's that Netflix documentary about stealing paintings. It's a really interesting documentary. Highly recommended. It's called This Is a Robbery, I believe. And it's about a bunch of paintings, nice ones, not just the ones your kids give you, then you put on the fridge and you act like, I mean, it is nice. I would be happy if a kid gave me a painting, especially if it was a Rembrandt or who's the other painter that I know? the guy with the scream, that one, the guy, Vincent van Gogh. I'm very sophisticated. I'd be happy with that. But anyway, that movie's about stolen paintings and how much value the paintings are worth, and the intrigue behind the heist. And art heists have a kind of a sweet. I think we all kind of love a good art heist. You know, I think there's something nice about stealing. I don't know. I'm not sure why. I don't know if there's anything nice about it. But why am I talking about that? While I was watching it, I just kept thinking, wow, this is like a tiny percentage of the amount of money that employers steal from their workers and from their employees. Wage theft is this massive global scam that's been going on for centuries, really. But yeah, it's a big one. So good stuff. Hi there, everybody. Big show today. Big show. Better get ready. Strap in. Put on your seatbelt. Bring down the bar on your roller coaster ride. It's funny how that's we protect ourselves with those things. You know, people, I don't know how many people die on roller coasters, but I imagine the first couple decades of roller coasters, or it was more. I doubt they were as, you know, I don't know. What the fuck? So big news. We're going to cover a little bit about the guilty verdict in the George Floyd case in Minnesota and throughout the world. According to the neoliberal establishment, you'd think that this was an act of advancing the cause hundreds of centuries, dozens of centuries, and eliminating any issues we have with regarding justice, equality, fairness, and the alleged freedom that America is supposedly so abundant in such abundance or something like that. Anyway, not going to get super right into that. And then we got a bear story to wrap it out. I'm going to keep it short. Last week I kept it at an hour, just about. And editing it was a breeze. Doing these fucking 2 or 3 hour ramble fests. Well, that's what my Valheim playthrough is for. And multiple hours of me doing stuff online. It can also be found on the Twitch stream, where I've been doing the woodworking streams during the day. I think I did 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Sometimes they break out too, so I can't. Like they interrupt and I have to restart. But yeah, so we got some news to talk about. Just a quick update on Bum Rush Industries. Shoot, I was on the wrong screen there. We are proceeding. Things are getting much closer. I'm waiting for boxes. I ordered some boxes, 50 of them. Hopefully we use them all up, selling slightly overpriced candle holders, custom boutique item. They're not custom for you, but I mean, each one is unique. Yeah, so the boxes are taking a long time to ship, ironically. The shipping boxes are not traveling very quickly. There's something sweet about that. It kind of harkens back to the old days when, people wore horseshoes instead of rubber shoes or whatever, to the pre-industrial era where things were a little slower. And corrugated cardboard boxes, it's 6 by 4 by 2 in the quantity of 50 at a cost of 20, 30 something cents per. I'm starting to get into that business brain mode, which I don't really like, but it's also kind of necessary if you're going to try to make enough money to live off of, which I wonder if that'll happen, where you're starting to do like the per unit cost and how many hours did each one take and all that. And that's the sort of thinking that is necessary. I think it's a mistake to act like that's not something you should be cognizant of, but it tickles a part of me that I don't like tickled. It's like, that's just that kind of merciless mechanical nature of making money off of stuff. But I'm selling fucking shit stools and candle holders on Etsy. I'm not exactly ExxonMobil over here or Pepsi. So, yeah, check out the Valheim streams and check out our woodworking streams. They're a little bit like this. I was experimenting. I know the audio can't tell, but I was using this red epoxy. I dyed it red. I got all these free powder samples. That's how you dye epoxy from the company that sold me the epoxy. They're like, you want some free shit? And I was like, yeah, I love free shit. Send it to me. So I'm trying to like fill in the cracks on some of these candle holders I was working on, as well as and it turned into a big mess. I think it's going to end up looking really cool. This epoxy stuff is a little tricky. I'm new at it. So good stuff. I learned a lot. And Instagram, I've been posting. I haven't done a ton. I finally got back on it. I'm not, all that social media stuff just drives me a little crazy. So Bum Rush Industries, check it out. Please support it. There's also Patreon and stuff too, although that's not really up and running. I mean, it's up and running in terms of money, but you'd have to be a real psycho to go sign up for a Patreon that has literally 0 posts, even though it's active and it's my thing. So whatever, that's fine. Maybe eventually. So let me get my earbud in so I can hear the audio, and we're going to talk about the ceaseless murder of America does to its citizens, and is hardly incentivized to stop whatsoever, despite massive outcry and desperate change for this to end, and for our culture of legacy apartheid state, racial caste divisions enforced via cultural conditioning and abject violence on an ongoing basis. So that's where we're headed. This is going to be a fun one. Why is there desktop audio noise going on? Well, that's my candle holding. That's the candle holding. Get out of here, candle holders. Okay. Breaking news.
Because a verdict in the murder and manslaughter trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has been reached. He is charged with killing George Floyd last May. The video of the officer's knee on Floyd's neck ignited global protests over police use of force. This has been one of the most highly anticipated.
Got him. I mean, this is good. This guy deserves to go to jail. He was videotaped murdering somebody by kneeling on their neck with the help of people around him, his coworkers. Nobody could stop him. If you tried to stop him, you would have probably been shot or attacked with a weapon, a melee weapon, or a chemical weapon, or an electrical weapon. They might have even, thrown glitter in your face. These guys have all the tricks on those tool belts of theirs. They're Batman utility belts that they carry around. So this guy murdered people while a phalanx of his coworkers made sure no one stopped him from murdering a man. Slowly kneeling on someone's neck is a brutal, horrible way to die and kill somebody. It's terrible. Another cop put in jail for murder. This happens multiple times a week. Every week. America is a just country, so we put people away for murder. No, of course, I'm kidding. Of course, that's not the case. Of course, this is the 7th police officer out of the last 15,000 murders, police killings. Oh, sorry, officer involved. Well, shootings. Shootings doesn't necessarily mean they die, but 7 cops. I actually have some numbers here. This is a report, again, from our friends over at ABC News about the numbers. This is about a minute or so. I might break in and we'll see what she has to say. But there's some shocking information here. This is also framed in a very corporate media kind of way. This is not like a complete ideological statement here, but just understand this is ABC News. This is not like, Hank's lefty news, which honestly, I would watch that channel. I'd be wondering who this fucking lefty Hank is and how come he hasn't called me up so we can combine forces into a Voltron of baldness. Here we go.
Guilty verdict today. We take a closer look by the numbers at police killings in America and just how rare it is for officers to face criminal convictions. About 1,000 people are fatally shot by police each year in the U.S., according to a Washington Post database.
1,000 a year. 3 a day killed by cops.
Which notes that most of the victims were armed and most of these killings are deemed justified. Still, only 140 law enforcement officers nationwide have been charged with murder or manslaughter for on-duty shootings since 2005, according to research from both.
140 charged since 2005 out of 15,000. What's 10% of 15,000? 150? No, 1,500. 1% is 150. Less than 1% charged.
Bowling Green State University. Of those, only 44 officers were convicted for any crime related to the shootings, although some cases are still pending. And since 2005, just 7 officers have been convicted of murder. In addition to these cases, at least 8 officers have
15,000 dead people, 7 convictions for murder.
been charged with a crime because of a chokehold death since 2005, again, according to Bowling Green researchers. But of those, before today, only 2 officers had been convicted, one for a civil rights violation and another for falsifying reports. Now we know that at least one officer, Derek Chauvin, has been convicted of murder for killing someone with his knee.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
With his knee. She said something in there. I missed it while we were playing that. I was a little focused thinking about other stuff. But she said something about like, those killings were explained and justified. Like they have all the whole apparatus in place that makes it so that anytime a cop shoots somebody, and I'm not saying every single use of force means that it was outright murder on the same level as kneeling on someone's neck. But we all know, we all see this all the time, that police lie about what happened. Cops, it's the blue wall. The good cops, quote unquote, look out for all the bad cops. They cover for all the bad stuff that the other cops are doing. They're always looking out for each other's back. They're always getting their stories straight. They don't have any fidelity to the truth. They only have fidelity to what they're going to keep them out of trouble. And it's an incredibly flawed system. The old man that got his head cracked open during in Buffalo, New York, I think, the initial press release was that he had medical problems or something like that, or the man had a man was injured in a fall during this protest or something like that. The George Floyd, I don't have the stuff in front of me. George Floyd, the day he was killed, the police issued a press release saying that a medical issue occurred. The initial medical report, police report from the cops, public statement, said nothing about the use of force or the killing or the kneeling on his neck. Nothing at all. It said that this guy had medical distress. The cops tried to help him and they eventually got him into the car and then he died. Just complete bullshit, completely made up. So of all those 15,000 police killings, what percentage actually found some form of tiny justice in the form of the cop actually getting held accountable for that? Maybe the cop had to take an extended break so they could go watch The Mandalorian while getting paid at home and not have to go to work for a few weeks while their bosses, maybe their promotion's delayed slightly so they can get back onto the wagon. But it's fucking bullshit. Every cop, even though, most cops don't use their guns during their careers. It's not as common as it might seem. They don't report on the times where they don't. But every single fucking cop has protected other cops from doing bad stuff. It's just a huge gang wearing government clothing and government trappings. And they have the power of the state, and they can call in the cavalry and come in. They can put you in a cage. It's incredibly violent. The whole thing. Yeah, one thing I highly recommend is a podcast I like to listen to called Behind the Bastards. Go back to their archives. It's not that far back, like June of 2020-ish. They did like a 7-part series on the origins of the police and where the police come from. And I'm sure you've heard, but they primarily are rooted from slave patrols, the kind of folks that the guy on our money, George Washington, would send out to go capture his victims when they would dare to try to escape so they could escape his labor camp where he lived. So slave patrols were a progenitor of what we call modern policing, as was KKK, and they were folded into America's racist caste system. So Behind the Bastards podcast around June-ish of 2020. They don't normally do 7 parts. Maybe it's 6 or whatever, but they don't normally do 7-part series that involved. But this was around the time of all the protests last summer. So yeah, the cop justified. Well, here in Baltimore, Baltimore cops, this is in Vice News, Baltimore cops carried toy guns to plant on people they shot. Trial reveals one officer, here's the subhead, one officer involved in the city's massive corruption scandal said officers kept the replicas, quote unquote, in case we accidentally hit somebody or got into a shootout so we could plant them. Okay, they're running people over, they're shooting people, and well, gosh, we don't want to get in trouble. Good thing we can frame this person and make it seem like they deserve to die. Last week, this is reading from it. Last week, the beginning of an explosive corruption trial involving 8 members of Baltimore's elite gun trace task force revealed that a handful of Baltimore cops allegedly kept fake guns in their patrol cars to plant on innocent people, a failsafe they could use if they happened to shoot an unarmed suspect, the Baltimore Sun reports. Detective Maurice Ward, who's already pleaded guilty to corruption charges, testified that he and his partners were told to carry the replicas and BB guns in case we accidentally hit somebody or got into a shootout, so we could plant them. The directive allegedly came from the team's Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, the Washington Post reports. Though Ward didn't say whether or not the tactic was ever used. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't at all. Detective Marcus Taylor, another cop swept up in the scandal, was carrying a fake gun, almost identical to a service weapon when he was arrested last year, according to the Sun. Man, it's just crazy. It's just one more paragraph here. The revelation is just one of many egregious abuses that have come out of the sprawling trial that the Sun has called Baltimore's biggest police corruption scandal in memory. Prosecutors say the squad, which was tasked with getting illegal guns off the streets, abused its power by robbing suspects and innocent people, raiding homes without warrants, and selling confiscated drugs, among other crimes. Just gang stuff. Man, that's crazy. Here's in Ohio. We're heading over to a story about after a shooting. Of course, multiple black people have been already killed by the police since George Floyd, since Derek Chauvin was found guilty earlier this week. Here's just a quick snippet here, and I have a little video after this. An Ohio police officer was caught on camera shouting, "Blue Lives Matter," to a group of shocked residents at the scene where another officer shot and killed a black teenage girl in Columbus. This guy was in uniform. He wasn't like he was on vacation in Sarasota, Florida, trying to put down as many shark bowls as he could. He was working as a representative of the state. On Tuesday afternoon, just as a guilty verdict was being handed down in the Derek Chauvin murder case, a Columbus officer shot 16-year-old Micah Bryant dead after responding to a 911 call about an attempted stabbing. I know there's some details to that killing that where I think she might have called them, or she was being attacked by other people her age. It was, man, it's such a ridiculous. I mean, all these situations can get so kinetic and messy, and to just send a bunch of like dudes they literally train them to kill them. There's a guy called David Grossman who is I think he's an Army Ranger. He has some sort of history in the military, maybe in policing, but he's made a career as a consultant who police departments hire. He wrote a thing called Killology, where he kind of gets into the whole psychology of killing people and how you're going to want to make love to your wife when you're done. And it's just like, it's sick. It's really sick. And he makes a lot of money being paid. I'm sweating like a bitch right now. I'm so sweaty. In a Facebook video taken in the aftermath of the shooting, upset residents can be seen talking about what happened when a nearby officer appears to yell to them, "Blue Lives Matter." One of the residents can be seen reacting angrily, saying, "Blue Lives Matter? Crazy. That's an insult." So let's listen. Let's listen to this.
Yeah, so.
Blue Lives Matter. Crazy.
Yep.
Insult. Especially at this place right now.
Yeah, it's definitely an insult. You sound stupid as fuck, bitch.
He does. He does sound stupid as fuck. Yeah, it's like three cops and they're wearing their captain's hats that look like you've seen those like captain's hats. I'd wear one if I had one, to be honest. In bed, I mean, obviously. Wearing their white shirts, standing around, and there's a whole bunch of cops in the back. So these guys are just there, kind of. What's the point of that? What is these people doing? There's a lot of hidden cultural stuff to the cop world. I don't have the information in front of me. I did bookmark it for some reporter. This is just a rough outline. Is she's been investigating the LA County Sheriff's gang. They have literal gangs inside the sheriff's department that are like they're not separate from it, but within the sheriff's department there's gangs, and she's under threat. She has to like live under security and try to like get away from police, from the cops. It's terrible. I got to read more on. I didn't get too far into that. So anyway. Okay. Okay. Let's do this first. So Nancy Pelosi was reacting. The Democratic Party. Of course, the conservatives are all like, this sucks. There's no justice here. This is not. Even though it seems overwhelmingly, I think I've seen polls like 80% of people saw the video of the guy killing him with his knee. Like it's impossible not to see that and not be like, oh, he's just killing him. You could just let your knee up so he could sit up and breathe. You can still be safe without murdering him. But the way so of course the pushback from the right, because everything becomes these cultural leverage points that are destructive to our whole world. But the way the Democrats take it, and I've seen some stuff from Biden and about George Floyd changing the world, and there's this anecdotal story of his daughter saying that, and I don't want to say like it's wrong. I mean, whatever. This poor young girl has to reconcile with having a father gone, and also one so publicly killed in this massive incident. That's a difficult thing. So, but I'm not suggesting that no one should speak to her in any way. I don't have any. It's not what I'm speaking about. I'm talking about how the Democrats have glommed onto this little narrative that he changed the world, that he's going to change the world. This might be a more notable point in this ongoing fight, but the forces that resist change are still firmly in charge. There might be some. I mean, look what it takes to get this guy convicted. Can you draw correlation or causation lines from everything all the way to him being convicted? Maybe not quite so directly, but the summer full of protests, not just for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor and for other folks. And you had this massive outcry, uprising in the world, spurred on partially by massive unemployment and a pandemic that was being incredibly mismanaged, and people not having work and people not having money and people being angry, understandably. And, burning down a police station in Minneapolis, there's been proposals for various reforms to try to cut police budgets and try to but I'm not sure how much progress has been made towards that direction. I know Biden came in saying we need to give more money to the police. So it's not like the police don't seem like they're in any danger of being taken out anytime soon, as they should be. And as we should also design a world for better community safety and community economics, and so people can live decent lives. And there's all sorts of reforms. And we have the ability, we have the technology, but what we don't have is the cultural, I don't know what the right phrase, like we're so stuck in these momentums and these inertias of these bad institutions, and especially those who people who own property love the cops because they're who they call when they need their property protected. And the people who tend to own property tend to have money. That tends to be who writes the rules for the society. So it's a little bit of a difficult thing in that sense, to say the least. So here's Pelosi talking about it. I just want to give a little context to it. She's is speaking in front of looks like it's the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm guessing that. She's going on about thanking people for this and sort of mentioning people who like Jim Clyburn and others, and she's just kind of rambling a little. So here's the first thing. This is not the heart of her comments, but she pissed off a lot of people with what we're going to hear in a short bit. But this is just a statement she made before.
His name synonymous with justice and dignity and grace and prayerfulness.
His name is synonymous with justice and dignity and grace. I couldn't hear the last one.
And dignity and grace and prayerfulness.
Sorry, she's wearing a mask.
His name synonymous with justice and dignity and grace and prayerfulness.
I honestly don't know what she's saying. Maybe there's... Oh, and prayerfulness. Okay, turn on the closed captioning. She's talking about George Floyd. Synonymous. I mean, I'm not saying George Floyd wasn't a good person. I'm nothing to do with him. It just this is a propaganda narrative that the Democrats are selling, because these are the masters of propaganda. If you rise to the top of the Democratic Party, you are a creature of this system, a system that incentivizes sociopathy at every level. And the higher you go up, the more sociopathy goes up. And Pelosi's a perfect example. Her and everybody in the leadership. These people are just psychotic. They're crazy. There was one moment last year, There's no way I could find the clip, but Pelosi was being asked about this stuff, and she brought up Breonna Taylor, and she just sort of reflexively goes something like Breonna Taylor, say her name. Like she just sort of drops this little say her name into this. It came out of nowhere. It was something you would have heard at a protest march. The one I went to, people were doing that, and people were rightfully doing that. But for it to come out of this person's mouth, it just had a real inauthentic ring to it. Let's just say. So here's the part that she got called out for a lot this week. Let's just listen to it.
And thank God the jury validated what we saw.
Here it is.
What we saw. So again, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice.
Thank you, George Floyd. And she looks up. She looks up towards heaven and says, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. What?
For being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that?
Oh, yeah, it was heartbreaking. She's thanking him for calling out to his mom while he was being murdered by a cop on the street.
Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice.
Ugh.
And now
It's so gross. What is she trying to do? Let's just be generous. She's trying to score political points off of this. The most generous way you can interpret it is that she's doing her job. She's doing what her job is expected, which is to marshal the Democratic Party into its, goals and maintain its power. The terrible job at that. Under Pelosi, during the Obama years, there was a massive amount of losses throughout the entire system in terms of, Democrats seating, losing ground to Republicans in state houses, So this is a highly charged political event where you'd expect someone at her position. She's number 2, I guess. Kamala Harris is number 1 in line for the presidency behind Biden, and then it's Pelosi. And so she's advancing what she thinks she needs to do for the cause. So it'd be weird for her to not comment on any of this. She could have maybe thanked the reaction to George Floyd's killing, but to thank him is just, it's obtuse. It shows a lack of, and she just seems completely out of touch, just completely fucking out of touch. And this is just like a really disgusting, weird, ineffective way. Thanking George Floyd, as if George Floyd woke up and was like, I'm going to go fight for justice by letting a cop kneel on my neck until I die. Like, that he had an intention to change the world like this. And the guy was a victim of police brutality and murder, and she's thanking him. She probably would like to rewrite that statement. I think she released a written statement that was similar to that. Just very weird, just so strange. Let's do it one more time.
thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. For being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice. And now we have to make sure justice prevails in the sentencing. But that's its own procedure.
Okay, all right. She's just out of it. She's out of touch. I don't know what the fuck. These old dinosaurs, these people that have been around forever, they're in the way. They're just causing problems. They need to be removed. They're terrible. I don't know what else there's to say about it. It's just to thank George Floyd is just so fucking crazy. And like, what justice is she talking about? The guy who killed him is going to go to jail. Let's hope there's not an appeals. I mean, he has a right to appeal, but let's hope that he stays in jail. I think when you murder somebody, you should be excluded from society. I'm for rehabilitative models of prison, though. I'm not for punishment models. I don't like when people joke about how he's going to go get raped and he's going to go to jail and suffer. Like, I think that's terrible. I don't care how bad a crime you commit. If you're locked away by a government, by a state entity, you deserve dignity and respect and rehabilitative services, like in Norway and stuff like that. More probably in the world I would want it to be even more aggressive. But yeah, America does punishment prison. We do punishment-based prisons. We do this really scary, antiquated, although it's very much our way. So it's really not so antiquated at all. Version of, I don't know. Why am I thinking the word prairie justice? That sounds stupid. We don't think of it as like, oh, we can maybe protect more people by delving into this person's psychology via therapy and via group, various kinds of rehabilitation kind of activities and dispositions that you can offer someone so that they are less likely to commit another crime when they get out. And then you have a whole nother system for on-ramping them back into society once they've served their time. America doesn't approach it like that. We approach it like, well, we're just going to hurt you because it's all we understand. We cage you and tell us that we're keeping society safe, but we're actually not doing that. We're maintaining a profitable system of prison industry, both private and public, because a lot of private companies feed into the public systems. They make the goods and shit. And there's communities that depend on prisons being there, just a human kennel system. It's like, it sucks when it's like, oh, wow, good news. They're going to build a prison in the area. That means we're all going to have jobs. It's like, so you're just going to live in a community that's based on kenneling humans and that's a society that we're going to point at and say, this is working. This is good. We should just do 100% prison population. Half of the prisoners look out as guards and they put the rest of us in jail. That's a ridiculous. But United States is kind of like a United States of Stanford prison experiment. There is sort of this abusive mentality that goes into the way we cage people and use isolation as punishment. And I think there's a selfish case to be made for rehabilitative prison models versus, like, for instance, the recidivism rate in punishment model is way higher because, so the selfishness of this is, don't you want for yourself to have a less likelihood of being a victim of a crime? Well, then you should be for massive rehabilitation. Spend a lot of money in rehabilitation. Yeah, not this version we've got, which is terrible. So anyway, what justice is she actually talking about? What's going to change? I'm not cynical enough to think that nothing will ever change. I just think that these Democratic leaders standing up here acting like they had something to do with making the world better is bullshit. There's hope that it could change. But this ain't the kind of justice she's claiming. Like politicians love to point at one small thing and make it a symbolic story that they'll then cling to and use to manipulate others and to achieve their disgusting, corporate first goals and the way. Okay. So it's sad. It's sad, honestly, this whole thing. It's really shitty. It sucks for everybody. So good times. Speaking of sucking for everybody, what bears can teach us about our exercise habits. See, this was a couple episodes ago. I mentioned I wanted to do this bear story in the New York Times. It's got a cool video of a bear walking on a treadmill, just like they do in nature. Subheading here is, scientists have found that grizzlies, like people, seem to choose the path of least resistance. What? I'm shocked. I'm not going to read the entire thing here, but grizzly bears move across landscapes in much the same way as people do, favoring flat paths over slopes and gentle speeds over sprints. I like to sprint. I go to the mall and I just sprint. I run as hard as I can from one Sephora to the TCBY. I just book it. According to a remarkable new study of grizzlies and how their outdoor lives compare to ours. The study, which involved wild and captive bears, a specialized treadmill, apple slices, and GPS trackers, expands our understanding of how a natural drive to save energy shapes animals' behavior, including ours, and could have implications for health and weight management. Oh, good. Thank you. I could use both of those. The findings also help explain why, in the great outdoors, the paths of bears and people are so often intersect. providing useful reminders about wilderness planning and everyone's safety. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's see. Accumulating research suggests that we humans as a species are apt to be physically lazy with a hardwired inclination to avoid activity. In a telling 2008 neurological study, for example, brain scans indicated that volunteers were far more attracted by images of people in chairs and hammocks than of people in motion. That's why when I watch sports, I only tune into the locker room cam and the dugout cam and the bench cam and the tennis player who sits on the chair cam and the ping pong partner who isn't swinging the paddle cam. Trying to think of where the other sports go. The hockey dugout. What do they call that? The cold out cam. Good podcasting. This apparently inborn preference for not moving made sense for us once long ago when hunting and gathering demanded hard effort and plentiful calories, and resting under a tree did not. Being inactive is more problematic now with food everywhere. Yeah, I'm not. For some reason, that paragraph confuses me. I read a piece. I don't know. I couldn't find it, but it's a grad student or some PhD person. It's like a academic paper. It wasn't a research paper, but it was like summarizing a bunch of other research papers about our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And it's more or less. It wasn't saying this is the conclusive way, but it was a very thoughtful and well-written piece thing. The writer was talking about our it's likely our hunter-gatherer ancestors probably worked 2 to 4 hours a day. They weren't like scrounging in the mud, barely getting by. There was probably periods where they didn't have as much food as they might have had, or maybe they had some days or two between meals, perhaps, which actually correlates with the reasons why human beings are such good fat storage systems, unlike primates, unlike apes and chimpanzees. We put fat on at a whole different rate, in a whole different sort of system. We have this insulin system that stores fat and saves it for later. It's actually a really good adaptation, and it's driven by our brains. Our brains use 25 to 30% of the power. They're supercomputers that are more or less never not working, and they just burn energy like crazy. So human beings depend on lots of energy for our brains to work. And we gorge on food, and our bodies are kind of brilliant. They'll slather the fat onto the rest of us, the ones that whatever energy doesn't need at the moment, and save it for later. That's what fat is. It's a biological battery, basically. Anyway, so there's this notion that our ancestors were always barely struggling. They were probably pretty happy most of the time. Of course, there were days that were stressful. Probably some periods of grief when someone died or something. Although they probably had much more healthier ways of managing grief than we do, because they were very connected to each other. They were pretty tightly bonded groups of people. So yeah, we are meant to be. Not lazy is not the right word, but we're wired to not work all the fucking time. We're wired to just lounge around during a hot day. Buy some water under a tree and some shade, making stuff with our hands, probably farting around with. I'd be the guy inventing shit out of sticks and rocks, probably. That's what I like to do. Banging, they did a lot of that. Maybe they probably told stories. Imagine 1 or 2 of them was the funny one or so, perhaps. There probably was a lot less severe psychological childhood trauma that we have nowadays. You were always surrounded by people of all ages, because I don't think they segregated people based on their age groups as much as we do. But their lives were, and if you made it past infancy, because the infant mortality rate was higher than where we are, generally they lived pretty long. They were very healthy. Their immune systems worked pretty well. They got to see saber-toothed tigers, but that was a lot of fun. So anyway. So now we get to what the grizzly bears did. So cue grizzlies, particularly those living at the Washington State University Bear Center. That's over there down by the Honey Center. Those are right next door to each other. The nation's primary grizzly bear conservation and research center. University biologists affiliated with the center study how the animals live, eat, and interact with humans. So they poke them with brooms and then just see how loud they roar. That's what they do. No, that's obviously, I made that part up. Now, wait, what the fuck? Now for the new study, which was published recently in the Journal of Experimental Biology, they decided to explore precisely how much energy grizzlies expend when they move in different ways and how those comparable numbers might affect real-life behavior, not only of bears, but of us and other animals. To start, they constructed a sturdy enclosure around a treadmill originally built for horses. Horses needed to lose a little weight. They went on, the Biggest Loser did a horse season. That's where those treadmills came from. With modifications, it could tip up or down by as much as 20%. I hate walking uphill. It's my least favorite activity while handling the size and weight of a grizzly. At the front of the enclosure, the scientists added a feeding box with a built-in rubber glove. What a contraption. So you got a big closed-off thing, treadmill that lowers up and down with a glove that distributes morsels of food from a man who stands there. Then they taught the center's 9 male and female grizzlies, most of them resident at the center since birth and sporting names like John, Pika, and Frank. So these grizzlies were born around human or raised around humans. That's a much different kind of thing than a wild one. But to clamber onto the treadmill and walk while sedately accepting slices of hot dogs and apples as a reward. Got it. If that's not a metaphor for capitalism, I don't know what is. Get on there and walk. Now you can have a piece of a hot dog. All right. Don't form a union. By measuring changes in the composition of the air in the enclosure, the researchers could track each bear's energy expenditure at varying speeds as they walked uphill and down. The bears never ran on the treadmills because of concerns for their safety. That's in parentheses. You don't want to end up on Instagram treadmill fails. You don't want to do that. Even bears experience embarrassment. They would hit it, their butt would fall, they would, and then the treadmill would push them over, and then somebody more attractive than them would walk up and kick them right in the nose real hard. Really hard. And there'd be a little blood splatter on the camera. What am I talking about? Using this data, the researchers determined that the most efficient pace for the bears physiologically, the one at which they used the least oxygen, was about 2.6 miles per hour. So if you think of an hour, 3 miles an hour is a 20-minute mile. And I think a 20-minute mile is a pretty, reasonable walking pace. I don't really know for sure, but I'm pretty, you could walk real hard and do it quicker, but I think 20 minutes per mile is about, not that hard. You're still, it's not a slow walk, though, but, I mean, it takes a while to walk a mile. But so 3 miles per hour is a 20-minute mile. Yeah, 20 minutes is pretty fast. It's hard to run a mile in 10 minutes if you're like me, who's every 5 years I take up running for about 3 months. I had one good run in college. I was running. I remember running, and I remember I'd been running a while, and then all of a sudden I'm fucking running, and I didn't feel any pain or anything. I felt great, and I ran further than I ever ran, and I ran back to, and I was like, I'm running. I'm a runner. I want to make this last forever. That happened once. Finally, the scientists gathered available information about the movements of wild bears using GPS statistics from grizzlies in Yellowstone National Park, along with mapping data and comparable numbers from past studies of people and other animals wandering through natural landscapes. Comparing the data, the scientists found that wild grizzlies, like us, seem born to laze. The researchers had expected the wild bears to move at their most efficient speed whenever possible. What are these people, fucking stupid? Like economists are stupid? Just assume every single creature makes logical decisions at every step of the way, Mr. Carnahan says. But in reality, their average pace traveling through Yellowstone was a pokey and physiologically inefficient 1.4 miles per hour. Don't they know their bones are mechanically designed to handle 2.6 miles per hour? What are these fools? They also almost invariably chose the least steep route to get anywhere, even when it required extra time. Quote, they did a lot of side hilling, Mr. Carnahan says. Interestingly, these speeds and routes resembled those. I'm just going to read this whole fucking article. There's not that much left. Interestingly, these speeds and routes resembled those of people when picking routes through wildlands, the researchers noted. Taken as a whole, the findings suggest that the innate urge to avoid exertion plays a greater role in how all creatures, great and small, typically behave and navigate than we might imagine. The study does not rule out, however, that grizzlies, like other bears, can move with sudden, staggering speed and ferocity when they decide to. Like when, Black Friday midnight comes up and Best Buy only has 14 27-inch Toshiba televisions, and you got to run in there. You got to elbow someone in the face. You got to punch them. You got to swipe them with your big grizzly paw so you can go home and watch diners and drives and dive-ins. Quote from Mr. Carnahan, "I've seen a bear run across a mountain meadow in 6 or 7 minutes when it took me all afternoon." I just like picturing this guy racing the bear. All right, you go. We'll at the same time, okay? Hey, the bear just like, they're bears, man. They're big and strong, and they can haul butt. I was wondering, like, when a bear sprints, does it get sore? Is it like sore for a few days? Do wild animals get sore from exertion, like when they have to escape a trap or something? The results, likewise, do not tell us that we humans are fated always to hike slowly, sticking to the flats, but only that it may require mental as well as physical effort and goal setting to avoid defaulting to the easiest routes. Finally, the study is a bracing reminder that we share the outdoors with large apex predators who may naturally pick the same pathways as us. You can find useful information about remaining safe in grizzly country at the website of the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee. They're part of the House Ways and Means Committee in Congress. It's all bears, though. They just go, "Rawr," and then the rest of them go, "Ooh, better give him what he wants." Shoot. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Bears are like people. They generally tend towards not working too hard and going places up gentle slopes than up steep hills. I don't know. This kind of science is I'm not disputing the quality of science here or whatever. I'm not trying to do that at all. But like, it's sort of like there's just so many other factors like risk assessment and intuitive understandings of risk and conscious understanding of risk and just the like, I don't know. Why am I trying to parse this out? I just want to talk about bears. I've had an encounter with a bear. I never had a threatening encounter. I've only seen them from cars far away. Actually, there was one. Okay, yeah, we were in our. This is not the one. There's another. But I've seen them like swimming across water between islands or land pieces in Wisconsin lakes. That's happened a few times. And one time though, we were hit by a bear. Our car was hit by a bear. We were driving late at night up to northern Wisconsin. We just stopped for pop. We were all popped up on caffeine. My two brothers, myself, and my father, just having a little good old male bonding time and keeping our eyes out for animals because it's a lot of just total darkness with the headlights, the cone of light that we can see. So if you hit a deer, that can fuck shit up. That can cause a lot of hassle. And as young kids, we're all just kind of between farting and burping, we're looking out for deer. That's how we would help our dad drive, And anyway, all of a sudden, a large animal of some kind, not a deer, comes barreling into the road from the side. It was very dark. It was black. And it was like the size of a tree stump. So before your brain really processes it, this thing is halfway in the road, and you start going, "There's one! Oh my God!" And you realize it's a bear just as it's all happening really quickly. And my dad swerved the car to the left real hard. No other cars around. Very empty street road in rural Wisconsin. Swerves to the left, and the bear is just moving, and the bear conks his head against the side of the car. Which it didn't seem like it whacked it too hard. I imagine like the car was moving away from it when it hit it. And so hopefully the forward momentum of the car, if energy was transferred in a way that hurt the bear, it was from the forward momentum of the car, not the leftward momentum of the car, because that was moving away from it. And anyway, yeah, we got hit by a bear. So we all went, "Ah!" Screamed. It was a good memory, good childhood memory. And that bear became my fourth brother. We had her come into the back seat. We said, "You're the brother now, Bear." And really good at fishing, unlike me and my family. We're all terrible fishermen. That's not fair to my rest of my family, but let's be honest. I've been out with all of you. You suck at fishing. I miss fishing. I can't wait to go fishing again. I like to go fishing. I like to not catch fish. I like to catch fish too, but I like to fish even when you don't catch fish. Oh, man. What a cliche. So one more bear story to wrap us up. Again, from our friends over at the New York Times. Grizzly bear fatally mauls a backcountry guide near Yellowstone Park. Oh, boy. Subheading here, when the bear charged at Montana officials who were investigating the attack, they shot and killed it. So they're interviewing the bear. They're taking its license and registration. You know, one of the cops yelled at the bear, "Blue lives matter, fuckface." And the bear was like, "Dude, what the hell? Fur lives matter, bitch." And, yeah, so the bear suddenly just leapt upon them once it had finished eating its picnic basket. A backcountry guide. This is April 19th, 2021. By our friend Azi Paibara. A backcountry guide who was fishing just west of Yellowstone National Park in Montana was fatally attacked on Thursday by a large grizzly bear that might have been protecting a food source, park and law enforcement officials said on Monday. That's important. That's the key to this whole situation, the food source. The attack took place near the Baker's Hole campground in an area about 3 miles north of West Yellowstone, Montana, according to Morgan Jacobson, spokesman for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. The victim, Charles W. Mock IV, wow, he had the fourth there, 40 of West Yellowstone, was carrying a fishing pole and bear mace when he was attacked on Thursday afternoon by what Mr. Jacobson described as a large, older male grizzly bear. Mr. Mock called 911 for help. Emergency responders arrived in about 50 minutes. That's not bad for being out hiking. And saw the bear, Mr. Jacobson said. Mr. Mock was taken to Idaho Falls for treatment of severe injuries, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks said in a statement he died of his injuries on Saturday. That sucks. On Friday, Montana Park officials sent 7 game wardens and bear specialists to investigate the area where Mr. Mock was attacked, believing that the bear that mauled him might still be in the area. Now, you got to go look for the bear. You got to say, we can't let this bear kill other people. It's got a taste for blood, for delicious human blood. No, we don't want this thing that knows that Cliff Bars are delicious now out hunting humans, okay? Humans are to be killed by their insurance companies and by the police and by their job and by their... humans are only allowed to be killed by other humans in the service of profit, not by some fucking bear. So here's the group. This is quoted. They yelled and made continuous noise as they walked to scare any bears away. That's just good hiking. You don't want to just skulk about silently. Then you stagger upon a bear and then suddenly you're turning into bear shit. A process referred to as hazing, park officials said in the statement. Then they saw the bear and it charged at the group. Well, this bear wants that Cliff Bar energy. Despite multiple attempts by all 7 people to haze away the bear, it continued its charge. What? Multiple? Was it like a Jackie Chan fight sequence where they all took turns running up to it and the bear like jumped through a ladder to punch them and kick them and stuff and had a skateboard for some reason? Okay, the bear was shot and died about 20 yards from the group, officials said. Later, officials found what they believe might have been the source of the bear's behavior. A moose carcass cached about 50 yards from where Mr. Mock was attacked. So it had a pile of meat. Bear's doing keto or carnivore diet. I'm sure it's like, as far as cop days go, going out with your buddies and murdering a bear, shooting a bear that just killed somebody. That sucks. I don't know. There's a lot of death in this story. Maybe it's not funny, nor should I be doing it with the smile that's on my face. Here's a quote. Bears and grizzly bears in particular are very protective of their food source once they've claimed it, Mr. Jacobson said. If they feel that that claim is under threat, they will defend it and they'll stay nearby. The bear's behavior on Friday and its proximity to the initial attack, he said, made us certain that this is the same bear. Man. Mr. Mock underwent 2 surgeries that went well, according to Facebook posts from his employer, Backcountry Adventures, which provides snowmobile rentals and tours of the park. But on Saturday, it turned out they announced that he died. What the hell? Oh, he had a stroke. Okay, that's right. Mr. Mock had suffered a massive stroke. So it sounded like he might have been turning the corner. That sucks. Yeah, so they raised $29,000 on GoFundMe for medical and funeral expenses. So even in death, you have to come up with a bunch of big wad of money for your medical care. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's more to this. Okay, here's a couple. Here's a stat. According to the National Park Service, since 1979, Yellowstone has hosted over 118 million visits. During this time, 44 people were injured by grizzly bears in the park. 44 people out of 118 million visits. Grizzly bears in the continental United States are listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act. That designation means it is illegal to, quote, harm, harass, or kill these bears except in cases of self-defense or the defense of others. In 2017, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service removed those protections for grizzly bears when it took them off the endangered list I read that weirdly. In 2018, a federal court forced the agency to put grizzly bears back on the list. And in 2020, a federal appeals court in San Francisco upheld that lower court's ruling, protecting approximately 700 grizzly bears living in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, which includes 34,000 square miles in parts of Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. About 50,000 grizzly bears once roamed North America. When they were placed on the endangered species list in 1975, there were only a few hundred left. Today, we have a growing grizzly bear population in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Mr. Jacobson said the site where Mr. Mock was attacked is fairly close to that epicenter of growth, which is why you'd want to eat a moose without being bothered. Like, frankly, I kind of understand. I get a little grumpy when I'm eating a pizza. I understand why this bear did what it did. So they're seeing more and more bear encounters and stuff. So be careful out there, everybody. Watch out for these bears. This is a good show. I don't have any idea what this podcast. Yeah, I've been just fucking swamped lately, guys. All right. I feel like I'm letting everybody down. Let's just take a quick Google journey to Yellowstone and see what it's like. We're flying in from space. This is fun. I hope this is interesting in some way. I know this is only for our video viewers. I'm not going to put this out in the audio feed. I probably shouldn't have started oh, there it is. Yellowstone National Park. We're coming in. Earth is rotating. Google Earth is coming up here. Are these clouds real time, I wonder? That'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest. So here we go. Heading into the Montana region, north of Colorado, northwestern Colorado, Idaho, Montana. Oh, that's Wyoming. Jeez. Northwestern Wyoming. All right, come on, speed it up. So there it is. Yellowstone National Park. What can it's big though, right? It's like most of this whole area. Yellowstone Lake. Let's get in there and see. A Table Mountain. Turret Mountain. There we are. That's pretty cool. Bears running around all over these. There's Coulter Peak. We all know about Coulter Peak. Come on. Mount Stevenson, Signal Hills, Mount Washburn. Just gorgeous, huh? Just a beautiful country. I want to find that one. Where is that waterfall with the glowing water or whatever? Just the absolute beautiful Yellowstone. This is terrible. Grand Teton National Park. Let's go over there. What's up with all that? What's going on here, Grand Teton? Look, that's fun. Nice mountain lake called Jenny Lake. Jenny Lake. Oh, there's Jenny Lake Overlook. That's where you go when you want to look at Jenny Lake. Lovely. There's the Jenny Lake Visitor Center. Oh, wow, man. There's Jenny Lake Campground. Wow, Jenny is really, she claimed a lot of little places to name after herself when she got here. She must have been the first one. Jenny arrived and everybody was like, ooh, fuck, Jenny's here. Yeah, boats and stuff. All right, I like it. I really enjoyed doing Google Map fly-arounds. I think there's a lot of, I have this idea to do more of these kinds of weird, not to say that I'm just going to do what I'm doing now. Bradley Lake. Bradley, Jenny got a way better lake than you did. Look at this. Look at, you can see Jenny Lake. And then there's Jackson Lake in the way distance. Bradley, Jenny, and Jackson. You three need to get together. And Taggart Lake. Man. Oh, there's the Taggart Lake Trailhead. Okay. But yeah, these are some cool peaks. This is I don't even think this is Yellowstone. This is Grand Teton. So look at that. Look at that mountain, huh? Steven, who's the guy who directed Lord of the Rings? Peter Jackson himself. Old Faithful. Okay, sorry. See, look, we gotta check this out here. So there's Old Faithful. Zoom back down, and all kinds of stuff down here. You get some really beautiful shapes and colors too in some of this. So here's sunset. Wow, look at that. That'd be a fun place to propose to your girlfriend or boyfriend, huh? That would be nice. The Whistle Geyser. These are the hot springs region of stuff. Quite a lot of buildings and stuff around Old Faithful, isn't there? Look at all this shit. Jeez. It's a whole complex. I had no idea it was going to be like that. I think the problem with going to these places, and I do want to, I don't want to just travel via Google Earth. There's just people, especially Old Faithful, one that's just been around. It's legendary. It erupts on a schedule. It even says it on the map here. Legendary geyser erupting on schedule. Yeah. Sounds like my love life. That doesn't. It doesn't. It sounds like the opposite. Tons of buildings, though. What do you do? Go sleep in one of these places, or do you just park and walk around? Like, do you go there for multiple days? Oh God, we're under the ground. You go there for multiple days, and you're just like, all right, let's go. What are we doing tomorrow? Gonna go to the Old Faithful. Well, there it is. I guess it shoots up right out of that or something. I don't know. Who wouldn't want to go? I want to go. The sulfide, what the? Sulfide Spring. Yuck. Old Faithful viewing area. It's a nice view. Okay. It's a small little window here so it fits on screen. All right. Let's just take a jump over to Salt Lake City. I just want to see what the creepy Mormon temples. I like a creepy Mormon temple. Let's just see how easy they are to find. I don't know where any of them are. Oh shit. Oh, there's one. Hold on. Okay, that's just more regular churchy. Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm looking for some big old ones, though. We're looking for some big old... There's another one. Another church. Cool. Bring your money. Don't show up broke. Temple Square. There's got to be temples at Temple Square. These must be some... Salt Lake City. There's a temple. The Utah Temple. Iconic, ornate Mormon temple. All right. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. It's a little... Got that big Gothic cathedral-y kind of thing going on. The Joseph and... Joseph Smith statues? He's the con artist. He started Mormonism. That's funny. The Slayers can't really see it on here. All right. Well, yeah, good. We found a creepy temple. There's another one back here. Assembly Hall. Good times. Yeah. Okay. I know there's lots of other creepy Mormon temples. South Salt Lake. Well, now I've seen everything. Okay. Was this good? How's that? I think we're good. All right, everybody. That's it. We're good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We've had a nice time. Hope you learned something about Nancy Pelosi and about bears. And, if... God damn it, I'm so eager to finally sell some fucking candle holders. I've got like 60, 70, 80. They're just sitting around all over the place now. And I'm going to work up a shipping system partially like this weekend. So lots of changes are ahead. And check out the Valheim playthrough on Suck Professor if you're interested at all in more of me rambling. And the woodworking streams and the woodworking stuff. And I've got more woodworking videos to work on too, but kind of focusing on other shit for now. It feels like I do a lot every day, but it also sometimes feels like I'm doing nothing all day, every day too. I can't tell. It's hard to connect all this effort to something in terms of reward or one of the reasons I want to push hard during the next phase or during this initial transition to the next phase is I want to be able to predict my weeks and days now. I don't think that's going to happen soon. But I feel very unmoored. Like I'm just kind of crashing along the waves, hoping I don't bust up against any rocks or anything like that. So, yeah, we got. It's okay though. We'll figure it all out, and I'm glad you're listening. And hopefully, maybe that's all I got. Keep listening. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Goodbye. Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.